Nathalie thought. Her skin was weathered with time and memories, and her eyes betrayed resignation, or boredom, maybe both. The woman held up yellow blooms for Nathalie's inspection. Bold, vibrant, the epitome of summer. "My mother would love this bouquet," Nathalie said. Papa always brought Maman flowers on the day of his return. Unfortunately, that was months away. He'd been at sea since April and wouldn't be back until September. Her mother could use a burst of color these days. Her recovery was bleak and painful and anything but yellow blooms and sunshine. Nathalie tucked the journal and pencil away in her satchel. She searched her dress pockets until her fingers found several centimes. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. The République Française motto, fiercely proclaimed everywhere the state could stamp it, glistened as she counted. "Is this enough?" The elderly woman plucked some coins from Nathalie's hand and left the rest. "These will do," she said, her voice hoarse. "Take them." She handed Nathalie the flowers and slipped away. Nathalie counted the remaining coins before returning them to her pocket. Good, she'd still have enough for the cafe afterward. "Pretty flowers," said a young voice behind her. Nathalie turned. She didn't understand why people brought children here, although she'd seen it many times before. The brown-eyed little girl, a 3-year-old reflection of her petite mother, grinned from beneath her red-ribboned hat. "Well then," said Nathalie, plucking a bloom from the bouquet, "you should have one." The girl beamed as Nathalie gave it to her. "See, Mama?" She raised the flower to her mother, whose bright blue frock made the bloom appear even more radiant. "For me!" Nathalie smiled and faced front again. Only 4 people separating her from the entrance. The little girl spoke to the flower as if it were a new friend. Her voice faded into the background as Nathalie's anticipation grew. Her parents had forbidden her to come here until she turned 15, and she'd mostly obeyed, except for that one time when she was 13. A man shot himself and hadn't been found for days. The newspapers offered such provocative descriptions that she and Simone, an adventurous ally who was a year older and whose parents were less strict, couldn't resist going after school one day. The man's face, or what used to be his face, was nothing more than 1 eye and half a nose. Simone reported having lost her appetite for a day, and for a week Nathalie dreamed the corpse was in her bed. And yet, as with many people, the experience intrigued her as much as it repulsed her. The old man in front of her spat blood before going inside. Sidestepping the foamy mess, Nathalie began to follow him. "1 moment." The guard held up his hand. She peered over his shoulder but couldn't see anything. After a minute that seemed like 20, the guard waved Nathalie into the public morgue. A dozen bodies were on display, but only one captivated the crowd. Murder victims always did. The morgue was, officially anyway, a means to identify bodies found in the public domain. Parisians came here because it was something to see, like the great Notre Dame Cathedral that stood in front of it. To go to the morgue was to poke the Grim Reaper in the ribs, to tell him he was riveting. Because if he was riveting, he wasn't scary. Death was for other people. Nathalie still couldn't see the bodies. People clustered on the left side of the viewing pane, an X on a macabre treasure map. The fetching young morgue worker stood, as he did almost daily, beside a black velvet curtain on the other side of the glass. With an alert, steadfast expression, he watched the crowd. She always watched him in return, but looked away whenever it seemed he was about to catch her, including today. A few people shuffled away, and she stepped up behind the gathering. Despite her considerable height, she was unable to see much other than the poor victim's matted, sand-colored curls and the blood-stained pink dress hanging behind her. Nathalie's eyes leapt to the other 11 waxen corpses resting on slabs. 1 additional man from yesterday, sunburned and nondescript, making it 9 men and 2 women. In the old days, a stream of slab-cooling water dripped from overhead, a constant baptism of indignity. Now the corpses were refrigerated for hours, then displayed in a chilled room. Behind the